Game time, Farrah doesn't flinch. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Oh, yeah. First time in about 2.5 decades. The NBA opening night on NBC. Man, love the John Tesh NBA intro. Are you kidding me? Oklahoma City raised a banner tonight. The Orlando Magic get underway tomorrow as the association is back. And with that, the NBA on NBC is back. Remember the days of Bob Costas, Ahmad Rashad, Jim Gray, Marv Albert? 2.5 decades, man. Long time. Welcome back to the NBA on NBC. Opening night in the NBA. Houston and Oklahoma City right now. Warriors-Lakers. The LeBron-less Lakers, at least to start the year. But Steph Curry, year 17 for him, gets underway tonight. And then everybody basically gets underway tomorrow, including the Battle of Florida, opening night between Orlando and Miami. David Steele, the voice of the Orlando Magic on the FanDuel Sports Network, will join us later on here in the 9 o'clock hour. And with that, a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. We will talk a little association tonight, but obviously we're going to talk an overwhelming majority on the gridiron, both collegiately and in the National Football League. We will talk Jaguars as they now have a few days off. I think this was the last day the guys were at the stadium. They will get the next 3-4 days off to maybe get away for a little bit, recharge for a little bit, and then they will come back with a 10-game stretch that begins a week from Sunday, 12 days from today, out in Las Vegas against the Las Vegas Raiders. So we will talk some Jacksonville Jaguars tonight. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4 will join me to look back on not only the loss to L.A., but more so the first 7 weeks, of which the Jaguars have won 4 and lost 3 of those contests. And we will go out to Oxford, Mississippi. In fact, we're going to do that coming up here inside of 20 minutes. Brad Logan is my guy when it comes to the Ole Miss Rebels. He is a contributor for the On3 Ole Miss website. He also is the host of the Believe in Ole Miss podcast, among other podcasts that Brad is a part of. He's a big part of the sports scene out in Oxford. And we'll kind of get a lay of the land from the Ole Miss side of things about Lane Kiffin, about what they're hearing in Oxford, about potential interest that Kiffin may have in Florida. Do they think Lane Kiffin will leave? Do they think he will remain? What will be some of the factors that could potentially keep Lane Kiffin in Oxford, Mississippi? So we will talk to Brad Logan about all of that coming up in less than 15 minutes. And in fact, that's where I also want to begin tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So I already hear a lot of people telling me, well, Hacker, and again, it's not just me, it's pretty much everybody, the Ole Miss job is not as good as the Florida job. The Ole Miss job is just simply not what the Florida job is. And I say, all right, well, let's expand on that a little bit. Why is the Ole Miss job not what the Florida job is? Remember, we're in 2025. This is not 1995 or 2005 or 2015. 2025 is a different lay of the land. Now, your grandfather's college football, your father's college football, heck, your older brother's college football. Yeah, Florida was probably a better job than Ole Miss. Is it still now? Or is that just a recycled narrative that people keep saying? Well, let's look at where we are in college football in 2025, shall we? The Indiana Hoosiers. Yeah, the Indiana Hoosiers are paying their coach, Kurt Cignetti, $11.6 million annually. Indiana made the college football playoff last year, and they're going to make the college football playoff again this year. That would have been laughable 10, 15, 20 years ago. The Vanderbilt Commodores. Yeah, that Vanderbilt team. They are hosting College Game Day this week. And it's not because they're hosting Georgia or Alabama or LSU. They're hosting Missouri. But ESPN has deemed Missouri Vanderbilt as one of the best games in the country. And they're sending their network show, College Game Day, to Nashville to be on site for the Missouri Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. You know, I get that it's very, very easy to say, well, yeah, Florida is a better job than this job, and Florida is a better job than that job. I like to deal in reality. I like to deal with stats, and maybe I'm too much of a stats guy. And I'm not saying wins and losses mean everything, but I think it's interesting, right? If you go back to 2015 through last week, the Ole Miss Rebels are 80-50 in that time frame, the last 10 plus years, 80-50. The Florida Gators are 80-54. Been to more bowl games, I guess, right? That's what that means. Keep in mind, Ole Miss has had much better success in the last 4 or 5 years than Florida. But I think a decade is a pretty long time, guys, isn't it? I mean, think about where you were in life in 2015. I was getting married in 2015. I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary in May. It's a long time. It's a quarter of my life. And in that time frame, Ole Miss is 80-50. Florida is 80-54.
Can I give you a better one?
Sure.
All right, you know Ole Miss had back-to-back 10-win seasons in 2023 and 2024.
Right.
Tell me the last time Ole Miss did that.
Back-to-back 10-win seasons?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a long time. How long?
1959, 1960.
No, I wouldn't have guessed it would have been that long. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know, do you know what was happening in 1959, 1960? Alaska and Hawaii just became a state in the United States.
Yeah.
Our first American soldiers were killed in Vietnam.
Oh, my gosh.
So, there you go. That's just some more stats for you.
No, and it's good. I mean, I love stats, and I love things like that. You know, I get that Gator fan has a very, very high opinion of their job. It's the University of Florida, right? It's the orange and blue. It's Steve Spurrier. It's Urban Meyer. It's 3 national championships. It's 3 Heisman Trophy winners. And look, some people confuse me to being an orange and blue goggles guy, orange and blue blinders on. I get that all the time from Florida State fans, and maybe I earned that over the years, but I think as I'm getting older, a little more mature in this business, a little wiser, that I like to think I'm probably more objective now than maybe I was 10, 15 years ago. I hope you guys have noticed that as well. What comes down to being a good job? Good facilities, good infrastructure, a good recruiting base, good NIL. Yeah, I would say all that comes down to being a good job. Does Florida have that over Ole Miss? They have parts of that over Ole Miss, sure. Yeah, I think they have a better talent base to choose from. I think they probably have more money, but I bet you it's a lot closer than you would think. Ole Miss has some terrific facilities, but from what I've been told, Florida's are probably a hair better. They're newer. There are reasons you would choose Florida over Ole Miss. But again, this is not 1995. This is not 2005 or even 2015. It is a different world that we live in college football. You could legit argue that Indiana is the best team in the Big Ten right now, not named Ohio State. You could argue that Vanderbilt is one of the best teams in the Southeastern Conference. I don't even think it is an argument that Georgia Tech right now is the best team in the ACC. And why is that? Because of the portal, because of NIL, because you can win anywhere. When people say, well, you can't win at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has to come to Florida because he has a better chance of winning. That's not true in today's college football. Go tell that to Kurt Signetti in Bloomington, Indiana. He seems to be doing pretty well. Tell that to Eli Drinkowitz in Columbia, Missouri. He seems to be doing pretty well. Brent Key in Atlanta, Georgia. Clark Lee in Nashville, Tennessee. The game has changed. I'm not saying Florida's a dog job. Far from it. Florida's a pretty good job. But I hear a lot of Gator fans over the last 72 hours that are scoffing at the notion that you would even have a conversation about the Florida and the Ole Miss jobs. I'm telling you, get rid of that mindset. This is not 30 years ago. This is not even 15 years ago. It is a different world that we live in. Will Lane Kiffin come to coach the Florida Gators? Maybe he will. But I would not be shocked if he chooses to stay at Ole Miss, which a coach would never have done 10 years ago, maybe as recently as 5 years ago. We shall see. Speaking of Ole Miss, let's head to Oxford, Mississippi. My guy out in Oxford is Brad Logan. He's covered Ole Miss for years. He is the host of the Believe in Ole Miss podcast. He's also a contributor to the Ole Miss on3sports.com website. What are they saying out in Oxford about Lane Kiffin? Are they worried about Florida? And what are the factors that might not lead him to the Gators? What are the factors that might lead Lane Kiffin to stay in Oxford? Brad Logan out in Oxford joins me next on a Tuesday night. We're glad you're with us, Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
There's a key that opens a very special door. The Jaguars locker room. Go in the locker room with Hayes Carline to get closer to the Jags. Unlocked by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
Attention skilled electricians, are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
It's the event everyone waits for. Now at Beard's Diamonds. Buy one, get one free on all wedding bands. Now for a limited time, when you buy his wedding band, get hers free. Buy hers, get his free. Save up to $10,000. Are you about to get married or been married for years thinking it's time for an upgrade? There's nothing that symbolizes your love more than the wedding band. Beard's has hundreds and hundreds of bands from top designers in white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, titanium, platinum, plain bands, channel set bands, pave set, eternity bands. And for men, masculine bands, wide, modern, with and without diamonds, hammered, brushed, engraved, lots of colors. Come to Beard's now and find the wedding band that reflects your style and your personality. Buy one, get the second one free. The big box corporate jewelry stores can't or won't do this, but Beard's can. And it's happening now through October 26th. Buy one wedding band, get the second one free. Don't miss this opportunity to celebrate your eternal love with the eternal symbol. Beard's Diamonds at St. John's Town Center.
After the lights go down on Friday night, 1010XL flips the switch.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, Friday Night Lights.
With Hacker and Dylan Denmark. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Rick Brogan Boogaloo for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
Florida Gators football on 1010XL is driven by Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville, Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors, and the law firm of Farah and Farah. Get Gators play-by-play on 1010XL.
Hi, I'm Amber Frangie. You know that other Frangie? Well, he's my dad. But I'm here to tell you about how much I appreciate the Awaken 180 weight loss program and how it's changed my life. Like a lot of folks, I let myself go a little. Not proud of that, but it happens. And I wasn't sure what to do. I've tried a lot of other weight loss programs, but they just didn't work. Not like Awaken 180. Can you believe I've lost 70 pounds in less than 4 months? With Awaken 180, there's no medication, no shots, and no side effects. And best of all, really fast results. You eat the food that's provided, and it's really good food. You work with a coach on a regular basis who guides you through the whole process. I'm never hungry. In fact, I never feel like I'm sacrificing anything. Just living a totally normal life. That's my new normal. And now, in October, they're offering free consultations. So there's no reason not to call them and learn more. Call them at 844-346-1800, or you can visit awaken180.com. It really has changed my life, and I bet it'll change yours too. That's Awaken 180.
Jacksonville is football season, and Duck Duck Rooter is proud to be on your home team. As a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, we tackle plumbing, septic, and air conditioning problems with championship-level service. Keep an eye out for our custom Jaguar wrap plumbing vans rolling around town. They're hard to miss and always ready for the next play at your home or business. With thousands of 5-star Google reviews and the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida, trust Duck Duck Rooter to keep you in the game. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter, when you're stuck, call the Duck.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Billy Napier out as the head football coach at the University of Florida. The big question now is what is next for the Florida Gators? Of course, we're probably a good 2 months or so away from getting a final answer on that, but certainly Gator Nation has made their point very clear, at least a majority of Gator Nation, that Lane Kiffin appears to be their number one target. Let's head out to Oxford, Mississippi. Brad Logan is our guy when it comes to the Ole Miss Rebels. He's the host of the Believe in Ole Miss podcast, among many other outlets covering Ole Miss. And Brad is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Brad, how we doing?
Doing well. I appreciate you having me on. And, yeah, it's a topic everywhere. And the people of Ole Miss are rightly worried, as I'm sure the people of Florida are worried as well. We heard from Scott Strickland, as you guys did earlier in the week, and basically was asked who's going to make this hire. And Scott, a Mississippi native, former Mississippi State athletic director, said he is. So we've heard from other dignitaries around that Florida program, Shane Matthews. We heard from Steve Spurrier. And, all eyes are on Lane Kiffin. I think you're absolutely nailed it.
All right, Brad, let's dive right in. The reaction in Oxford on Sunday when Billy Napier was fired, I think Ole Miss fans probably knew at that point that Florida was going to target Lane Kiffin, correct?
Yeah, absolutely zero surprise there, Ryan. You look at what Lane has done at Ole Miss, and it's historical. He's done something in Oxford that hasn't been done since the early 1960s under head coach Johnny Vaught. And yet another 10-win season appear to be on the horizon, depending on what happens the next couple of weeks. But Ole Miss playing pretty good football, with the exception of the defense against Georgia on Saturday. They had Georgia on the ropes, up 2 scores in the third quarter. And, yeah, all eyes kind of turned to Lane Kiffin after the news broke. And everybody was kind of saying that this is going to be the end for Billy Napier, win or lose against Mississippi State. That proved to be true. So I think there are a lot of ways you can look at this thing. It's a very layered answer when you say should or should not Lane Kiffin go to Florida. I think if you look at this Florida team, there are a couple of things, Florida program, there are a couple of things that really jump out at you that you can't argue. It's a larger fan base, bigger alumni, probably more money, more national championships, better facilities. But I'll ask you, Ryan, I mean, I don't know if that plays as much of a factor as it did 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now with the advent of the NIL, a program like Ole Miss that has a collective, a university athletic department, administration, a head coach, and a chancellor that all kind of work together, and a fan base is kind of pulling the same rope with the NIL and with giving and really doing their best for the flagship program in Mississippi. I think that says a lot for Ole Miss. Also being the only game in town, there's no professional sports for an entertainment dollar. That plays a little bit into it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch over the next. I don't know if we're going weeks, Ryan, or we're going days. But I do know this: Ole Miss has to avoid what happened in 2022. Whenever Lane and Auburn begin talking, or their representation, I should say, the program took a dip. We heard from Jaden Williams, the starting right tackle, today in the media press availability, and he made mention that they don't want to have a 22 happen in 25. And Ole Miss has plenty of games ahead of them, beginning with a road trip, a huge one against Oklahoma. This is an Ole Miss team that's in the college football playoff conversation, but they need to win on Saturday. How much does this talk have to do with that? Will we see Lane Kiffin make a decision one way or the other before then? I don't think so. But obviously, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you don't want to have to deal with what you dealt with in 2022. At the end of the day, I don't know what Lane Kiffin's going to do. I could literally see it going either way. But I do think, and feel pretty comfortable in saying, the money end of it will not be a problem for Ole Miss, regardless of what the money figure is, because I do believe Ole Miss is in a financial position to take care of Lane Kiffin.
A couple of more for Brad Logan. He's our guy out there with the Ole Miss Rebels. He's the host of the Believe in Ole Miss podcast. Brad, has Lane Kiffin in the last 2 or 3 days publicly addressed the Florida situation? Has he said anything about it?
He did. Actually was asked in the local media call on Sunday by one of the beat writers about the speculation, about not having a situation like they had in 22 when they lost a number of games, or a couple of games after all of that speculation with Auburn came out. And he basically said, Ryan, because here's the thing. Chuck Rounsell, the Ole Miss Spirit, immediately reached out to Keith Carter, Director of Athletics for Ole Miss, and asked him about any particular contract negotiations. And Keith's words were the university is being proactive, which to me tells me the university understands that there's things going on behind the scenes and they want to get a deal signed as quick as they can. Well, in turn, Florida makes a decision. They're going parting ways with Billy Napier. So now all of a sudden, Florida's looking for a head football coach. We've heard Spurrier. We've heard so many others. Shane Matthews, I mentioned him a moment ago. And I think I saw a video with Shane laying out all of the positives for Florida. I can't dispute that. But I don't know if that's what Lane Kiffin and the representation are really targeting for a reason to come to a program. So, but he did mention it when asked. Lane Kiffin said, I don't talk on things like that. I have a representation that handle that. During the season, we're focused on Oklahoma. I'm very much doing the best I can to kind of put it in the context of what Lane was saying. Those aren't direct quotes, but that's kind of, I'm putting in words what he said. And he didn't comment on it directly, just saying that his representation kind of handles that. And so, he's not going to comment on it. Lane's always been a step ahead, whether it's a transfer portal, NIL, any type of play calling. He's always kind of got a step ahead of the competition. This is no different. He always has everything planned out perfectly, and so he's playing this one very close to the best.
Brad, I tend to agree with you, and I've made this point really for a while now, but it's obviously more prominent today in regards to the whole Lane Kiffin situation. I don't know how much better of a job Florida is than Ole Miss in the land of NIL. Now, if this was, 2005 or even 2015, right, I think that would be a different conversation. But with NIL and the portal, I mean, for crying out loud, Indiana might win the national championship this year. Vanderbilt controls their own destiny in late October to win the Southeastern Conference. I mean, that's where we are in college football now. It is not your grandfather's or your father's or even your older brother's college football. It is a new world, and some of these jobs have narrowed because of NIL and because of the portal. Having said that, the talk about, Lane Kiffin, has he reached a ceiling at Ole Miss? Has he done everything that he can do there, and would he want a challenge at a place like Florida where he apparently idolized Spurrier? growing up in the college ranks. Obviously, his father, Monty Kiffin, down in Tampa Bay. Lane's very familiar with the state. Florida Atlantic speaks for that. His family has some ties to the Gator and Gainesville area. I mean, there are real issues for Ole Miss to look at and wonder, could this be the time Lane would actually leave?
100%, Ryan. I agree with all of that. I think those are all very positive attributes that would have Lane look at Florida very seriously. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to financing, and it comes down to how quick can you win. Lane has shown that you can win at Ole Miss. At a high level, I would argue yes. At the highest level, hasn't got there yet. But I do not think he's reached his ceiling, because you look at last year, Ole Miss was able to beat top-ranked Georgia, but couldn't put things together on the road at Florida, at home against Kentucky, and then on the road at LSU. By the way, led in all those games, had those games, gone another way, Ole Miss very well could have gotten to that ultimate college football playoff berth to where you could possibly play for a national championship. Those are things I do believe he can do at Oxford. Obviously, he hasn't done that yet. But there's no overshadowing the fact. It's been proven. It is a proven fact that Florida is putting $400 million into a capital campaign for Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. It is a fact that Florida has won multiple national championships. It's a fact it can be done with Steve Spurrier there. I can't argue any of that. Neither can anyone else. It's going to be, does Lane believe he can do it in Oxford, and is Ole Miss going to make him competitive, pay-wise, assistant-wise, staff-wise, NIL-wise? I do believe all of that's going to happen. The question is, what does Lane decide? Had it not been because of his daughter, and we learned this through the ESPN documentary, Lane would probably have went to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say that, but he intimated that somewhat in that documentary. But his daughter pretty honestly said, well, here's why we would like you to say that. And Lane very emotionally said, okay, I will stay. I don't think it will be anything like that. I do think there's a family aspect to this. And real quickly, I'll tell you, Ryan, Lane's son, Knox, I think he's a sophomore or a junior on Oxford High School's football team. I think he's a sophomore. He came in as the Chargers were trailing 14 points at some point during the game, leads them back to victory, and then throws I don't know if it's a 2-point conversion or whatever, but they won the game in overtime. And Lane talked about it at the press conference. He was asked, and I actually posted that on my social channels, and he was very adamant about how important that was that Knox, played, and he loves it at Oxford. So how much does that play into it? Knox could play at Gainesville High as easily as he could play at Oxford. That's not what I'm arguing, but that's a family aspect. And Lane is much more of the family guy than he was 2 years ago, than he was 4 years ago. He's made mention, as he said in the documentary, about how much Oxford is special to him because it's where his parents passed. Oxford embraced he and his family. So I do think he can shake Oxford's hand and give them a hug and then go to Gainesville as easily as he can stay here in Oxford. So I don't know how much of it plays a factor, but I do think in some ways family is going to play a factor in the decision.
Brad, as we wrap up, Penn State is open. There's some thought that Auburn could come open, potentially Florida State could come open. Some big-time jobs. But is Florida the main one that the folks out there are worried about?
As far as Lane Kiffin, yes. Now, I will say this. If you really want to kick the can down the road, it's obvious that people are not happy with Brian Kelly at LSU. I would guess, depending on, LSU hosting Texas A&M, they're a home dog at night. I don't know if that's happened. I don't know how long ago it's been since that's happened, especially if it's not Alabama. How long has it been? So if they happen to lose that one and maybe lose 5-6 games, is it a situation where Brian Kelly calls his agent and say, look, man, I've had enough. Get me that Penn State job. So if Brian Kelly leaves LSU, that's obviously a threat for Lane Kiffin. I think there are certain jobs, LSU, Florida. I don't know about Auburn, but Alabama, if something were to, Kalen DeBoer be like, hey, man, I've had enough of this. Although I think he's kind of settled in Tuscaloosa, and it's going to do a great job. I think Kalen DeBoer's a great coach. But if something crazy happens there, those are the three main jobs, and maybe at Ohio State or the NFL. I think that's the main jobs that Lane Kiffin would really look at. But you're right. Florida is absolutely up there, and it is absolutely an issue for Ole Miss fans right now for sure.
Brad, 30 seconds. You follow that program as closely as anybody, and we'll certainly have you back on as the days turn into weeks, as the story develops. But as we sit here on October the 21st, is Lane Kiffin the coach of Ole Miss next year?
Right now, at 2:55 as we record Central Time, I think so, yes. I believe the university is going to do what they need to do financially. I think they're going to take care of his staff and the NIL. And I think at the end of the day, Lane Kiffin is able to run his program just like he wants to, with nobody over his back, exactly what he wants to, and a great administration to work for, everybody working in concert. I think he stays at Ole Miss.
Brad, tell the Gator fans here in Jacksonville that want to stay updated on Lane Kiffin and the news out there, where they can find your work. You're really all over the place covering Ole Miss football.
Yeah, I have a couple podcasts, the Believe in Ole Miss podcast, a part of the Believe Network, and also the Red and Blue Crew podcast. Also contribute over at the Ole Miss Spirit. That's a part of the On3 family. That's onspirit.com. You can join for $1 and keep up with everything going on with Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin.
Brad Logan, he's our guy when it comes to the Ole Miss Rebels. Brad, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
Thank you.
There you go, Brad Logan. Certainly appreciate his time out there in Oxford. They're very confident that they can keep Lane Kiffin out there. And you saw Brad, or you heard Brad, summarize some of the reasoning as to why. And again, I'll repeat it. Is Florida a better job than Ole Miss? I don't know. I mean, I think that's the perception here. I don't necessarily know what that perception is nationally. You hear a lot of people that cover the SEC, people that cover it on a national basis saying, well, pump the brakes for a second. Why? I mean, that's the public opinion in the state of Florida, that the Gators are a better job than Ole Miss. Who's had the more successful program for the last decade? It's a dead heat. I brought up earlier, since 2015, Ole Miss 80 wins, Florida 80 wins. They're identical for the better part of a decade plus as far as the win column. I mean, if you just want to say Florida's a better job because it makes yourself feel better, well, that's fine. And maybe they have a little more money and a little better facilities. But in this day and age of NIL, when College Game Day is going to Vanderbilt for Vanderbilt, Missouri, and when Indiana is a top 5 program in America and just made their coach the 3rd highest paid coach in the country, and when Georgia Tech is, the last remaining undefeated ACC team, again, if that doesn't tell you that is a different world in college football than what we're used to, I don't know what is. And I think jobs like Ole Miss and Florida have certainly narrowed. The gap has been shrunk in a big, big way. And I'll tell you this as well. Let Indiana go win the national championship this year. Or let Georgia Tech go win the national championship this year. And then the narrative about the Blue Bloods. Look at the Blue Bloods this year. Look at the best teams in college football. How's that working out for Florida? Right? How's that working out for Florida State? How's Auburn doing? How's Southern Cal doing? How's Penn State doing? How's Michigan doing? I mean, we can sit here and say, oh, yeah, these are the great jobs and these are the best teams. Well, I mean, look, that's not true in 2025. And, we'll see what ultimately Lane Kiffin decides. It'll be fascinating to watch. And if not Lane Kiffin, who? Eli Drinkowitz, Missouri? Jeff Brom, Louisville? Brent Key, Georgia Tech? James Franklin, who got fired from Penn State a week and a half ago? Those are the names you're going to hear. Could there be a surprise in there somewhere? It's what makes it fun. It's what makes it fun. It was fun watching the Jaguars for the first 5 weeks of the year. Not so much the previous 2. But as we talked about last night, and I will continue to drive home this talking point, you could be a lot worse than 4-3. Raise your hand, not if you're driving. Have your hands at 10-2. But if you're listening at home, in the office, whatever, raise your hand if you would have taken 4-3 going into the bye week back on Labor Day. I'm raising my hand. You probably should be as well. I don't know who would not have taken 4-3 going into the bye week back on Labor Day. So all is not lost. I know it stinks now because of how you're going into the bye on back-to-back losses. But again, we are through 7 weeks of the NFL season. And if the playoffs started today, the Jacksonville Jaguars would be in the playoffs as a 7 seed in the American Football Conference. By the way, thank you, Seattle, for putting a loss on Houston last night. Houston falls to 2-4 on the year. But there is no doubt, even though the Jaguars, I think, that are still in good shape at 4-3, if they don't play considerably better moving forward, they're not going to win a lot of football games down the stretch. They have got to improve. They have got to get out of this funk that they have found themselves in over the last 2 weeks. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4 does a terrific job covering the Jaguars. He's one of my favorites to talk Jaguar football with, and Jamal joins me next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us right here on Hacker After Dark.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Julington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor, outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
I know you love sports, so why not take that passion and make a difference in your community as a volunteer coach with the YMCA? Whether it's soccer, basketball, volleyball, or flag football, the Y is always looking for positive role models to help kids grow in both skills and character. Even if you've got no coaching experience, that's fine. We'll provide the training. Step up, give back, and be the coach that makes a difference. To volunteer, visit your local Y or fcymca.org.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Fall is here. The air is crisp. Football is on, and the perfect backyard atmosphere starts with a high-quality fireplace from CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Hey, it's Joe C. Imagine nights by the fire, cheering on your team, surrounded by friends and family. CSS can transform your outdoor space into the ultimate game day destination. Stylish, warm, and built for memories. With several wood, gas, and electric options, let CSS make your backyard the best seat in the house. Visit cssfireplaces.com.
Mike Dempsey for Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jacksonville Beach. If your roof's got any damage, if it leaks, if it's just old and ugly, call my friends at Apex Roofing. But Mike, roofs are so expensive. It's true, quality roofing is not cheap, but Apex Roofing has up to 100% financing available, so you don't have to compromise quality for budget. Apex Roofing, no shortcuts, no stress, just quality work with financing available. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jacksonville Beach. ApexRoofingFL.com.
San Jose Collision is hiring for an automotive detailer and porter. If you're detail-oriented, dependable, and love working with cars, apply in person at San Jose Collision in Mandarin. Valid driver's license required.
Grab your cowboy hat for the Beach Barbecue Bash presented by Sunshine State Plumbing and Reliable Ducks. Thursday, October 30th. Live music, sizzling barbecue, and Southern Charm supporting Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. Get tickets at bgcnf.org.
1010XL, presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars 4-3 heading into the bye week after whatever that was on Sunday morning against the Los Angeles Rams over at Wembley Stadium, a 35-7 loss, and it was really bad. Drops, penalties, you could tell the frustration that head coach Liam Cohen had after the game. Where is Jacksonville now heading into the bye? Again, 4-3, but still a lot of questions now over the next couple of weeks. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Jamal, how we doing, man?
What's going on? I mean, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm happy I woke up Sunday morning to watch that and really enjoyed the 2-hour post-game show talking about that game. Jamal, I said this earlier. If you were in a football coma for the last decade, you just happened to wake up Sunday morning to watch the Rams and the Jaguars, that looked like the Gus Bradley Jaguars.
Oh.
I mean, that with penalties and drops and just nonsense going on, missed kicks. I mean, it was awful, right? What was your takeaway?
There's not a whole lot of positive. A whole lot. There's no positive from that game. I mean, that's one that you almost try and flush. The problem is it's been like 2 weeks of that where you're like, the Seahawks game you largely want to forget, and that Rams game you immediately want to forget. So they go into the bye week kind of with their tail between their legs at 4-3. There's a strong 4-3 and there's a this 4-3 where you're trying to figure out if they can stop the spiral, because now you're on this 2-game slide. The mistakes have just continued to compound. Over 100 yards in penalties, and those are just the ones that were accepted, plus the drop passes, plus you can't feel like you can make a field goal to save your life. What can you hang your hat on at this point if you're the Jaguars, saying, all right, well, this is what we do well? For the last 2 weeks, it doesn't look like you really know.
There's a lot of branches to talk about with you. Let's begin with the offensive line. Jamal, I'm old enough to remember a top 5 rushing attack. San Francisco didn't even touch Trevor Lawrence, didn't touch him out in California a couple of weeks ago. There was not even a quarterback hit registered. And my goodness, man, Kansas City a little bit, but primarily Seattle and L.A. 14 sacks allowed in the last 2 games, penalties, galore. What has gone wrong with this offensive line as of late?
Well, they've gotten banged up a little bit, Hacker. I think that's probably part of it. I think some of it, they've just started to kind of get exposed and go against better pass rush groups. You got to remember, Anton's gotten a little bit banged up in the early games. Makari's gotten a little bit banged up. Ezra Cleveland got banged up toward the end of that San Francisco game. Hainsey missed last week and came back against the Rams. So the only guy that really hasn't gotten banged up has been Walker Little, who's been holding it together. But, overall, I think they've just kind of gotten exposed a little bit. I think we've reached that point where you're going against some of these better pass rush groups. The Rams have one of the best, young edge rush duos in the league. Really good just defensive line front there. And it showed. That Seattle defensive line is really good, too. So I think you've gone against 2 really good fronts. Your offensive line's a little bit banged up. People are kind of starting to figure them out a little bit. And I think at some point, you start asking, well, can you get Wyatt Milam out there? But at the end of the day, does he really solve anything for you? Is plugging him in going to fix the problem? I don't think so.
No, I don't either. That'd be an awful lot to put on a third-round rookie's plate. The offensive line has been bad. And, Jamal, I don't know if they've been as bad as the wide receiver group. Drops just out of, left and right the entire game. Brian Thomas Jr., look, I don't know if I've seen a regression like this, particularly in Jacksonville. I believe he leads the league in drops. Fans are starting to question his toughness. Now, again, I know you see the same stuff I do, and I've made it pretty clear since the game on Sunday. I'm always very, very cautious using the word soft to label an NFL player. I don't think anybody's soft if you're a National Football League player. But there is no doubt that there have been issues this year, and it happened again on Sunday, where it looks like Brian Thomas Jr. is making business decisions, and he's not going across the middle, or certainly not catching the ball going across the middle. What's your thought on the whole BTJ situation?
Look, I don't know. Hacker, he left the game late with that shoulder kind of situation where it looked like he was kind of barely touched. I've thought something happened in training camp and he's been a little bit banged up since some of those off-season scares. But, I have nothing to go for that. He's just hasn't looked like the guy that you saw last year. It's tough to, make heads or tails of it. This offensive scheme is a little bit different. They're asking him to do some things that maybe he wasn't asked to do last year in that Doug system. But overall, this isn't the wide receiver that I think Liam Cohen expected to have on his offense. This isn't the wide receiver that any of us expected to see. And I don't think it's up to the standard that Brian Thomas wants for himself. I don't think he's happy with the way he's been playing. But the question is, what's the solution? And I don't know if anybody knows that right now to get him back to where he was last year or where we expected him to be going into this year.
Couple of more for Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. The silver lining on Sunday, Jamal, was Travis Hunter. Targeted 14 times, 8 grabs for 101 yards in his first career touchdown. And he said in the postgame, he told Liam Cohen, get me the ball. And I love that attitude. The great wide receivers have that attitude. It appears Travis Hunter is that. And Jamal, I mean, there's a changing of the guard, right? I mean, this offense needs to run through Travis Hunter moving forward. Is he not wide receiver 1 at this point?
I mean, I think there's some growth that needs to happen there still. I think he has a better feel for the game at cornerback than he does at wide receiver sometimes. I think there's no doubt that he is immensely physically talented, but I think there's still a lot of growth there. So I think that's where people have been frustrated with maybe his usage on offense. I don't think the coaching staff is doing that, by any means to hide this guy. I think they understand that there are some things that he's still learning, and that's why I think everybody heard them over the offseason say he's going to be primarily a wide receiver through the offseason program. That was never them saying he wasn't going to play corner. That was them saying we need to teach him how to be an NFL wide receiver. And even in his post game in London, somebody asked him the question of what's the biggest difference from college to the NFL, and his response, the scheme, the playbook. He's not quite there where you're just like let the dog off the chain. I think we're seeing glimpses of the top end talent that he can be, and I think the Jaguars are going to have to find ways to unleash this guy while he still learns. I do think that is part of the equation, that they got to figure out what better ways to get this guy involved, because he's shown that he can do it at every level of the field. The problem is, do we legitimately think he can play every snap of an NFL football game? Because you see him at corner on defense and you're like, man, he's CB1. You see him at wide receiver and he goes out there and has 100 yards and you're like, man, how do you take this guy off the field on offense? And I think that's what even this coaching staff has embraced it, but I think they're still wrestling with the reality of, do you really want to let this guy try and go out there and not miss a snap? And what are we going to have to, deal with from as far as a mistake standpoint or a load management standpoint on him if you try and do that?
He was the best player in a Jaguar uniform on Sunday. To me, it wasn't even close. And with that, Jamal, let's talk quickly about Trevor Lawrence and, for that matter, Joshua Hines-Allen, supposedly the two faces of this team. Now, Lawrence, again, he's getting sacked every time he drops back, and then when he doesn't get sacked, his receivers are dropping the ball, so you have to take that into account. Hines-Allen, I think, has, half a sack through 7 games? I mean, how concerning is that right now for both of those guys?
I mean, look, I think that's one of the problems with this team right now, is that your guys that you expected to be the linchpins. I mean, this is a league that's similar enough to others where your superstars make the plays in big moments. I mean, they beat the Chiefs with a big catch from Brian Thomas down the stretch, right? Okay, well, you need your players, your guys, your superstars to show up in these big games and these big moments. And right now they haven't. I think Josh is doing some good things. By no means is he just invisible out there, but pressures are only so great. At some point, you need him to be able to get there and finish plays and get those sacks. And for whatever reason, he gets close, but he hasn't been able to finish those plays yet this season. At some point, do those pressures start converting into sacks? You sure hope so. But I think that's one of the problems. I mean, Trevor, like you mentioned, the offensive line hasn't done him any favors as of late. The wide receiver group isn't doing him any favors as of late. But at the same time, he's not necessarily doing himself any favors. I mean, he's been off target on more than a handful of passes. There's a handful that have been late to get there. But, I mean, is he making some big-time throws? Yeah, he's making the throws that make you say, okay, this guy still got it. This is what you see in him. And then there's others where there's just head-scratchers and he misses it. I think there was a short, screen pass that he missed against the Rams on Sunday. Those are the ones that frustrate you the most because you're like, dude, you're supposed to be the guy, and you can't miss that one. And, I mean, it goes back to the Brian Thomas conversation because you expected him to carry this major load on the offense, and right now he's not. That's why you felt comfortable bringing in a guy like Diami to say, okay, he's going to be a role player and be able to hold this spot down, because you expected Brian to carry such a large part of the offense, and right now he's not. And that's overall where the Jaguars are when your superstars, or you're supposed to be superstars, aren't making plays. Other guys start getting exposed, and you start looking around and you're looking for somebody else. And I think that's putting more pressure on us to talk about it and the coaching staff to let Travis Hunter off the leash, because everybody's like, well, somebody's got to make a play. And this is a guy who everybody wants to see make a play, But all that pressure shouldn't be on a rookie just because he went number 2 overall and the Jaguars traded up for him. The pressure to make those plays has to stay on those guys that are being paid, that are your linchpins of your roster, that are the expected top-end guys on your team. They have to start making plays. They have to step up. And that pressure shifts to the coaching staff to figure out why these guys aren't and how to unleash them and put them in positions where they can. Because right now, you're invested in them, so that's their job to get the best out of these guys. So how do they put Josh in a position to go make a play? How do you – I don't know how you get the ball in Brian Thomas's hands when he's not catching them consistently, but you got to figure out why he's not. And you got to figure out how to get Trevor to be just that much better. So I think a lot of the pressure goes to the coaching staff, but you need your superstars to step up, and they got to figure out why they're not.
Final moments, Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. Jamal, I want to end with a big picture thought, but quickly, about 30 seconds. They got a Cam Little problem, right? I'm not cutting Cam Little by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm bringing in kickers. I'm going to sign one to the practice squad because I want another kicker in that building because this cannot continue.
No, look, they have a kicker problem, Hacker. I don't know, what's going on with Cam Little. But if Cam Little makes it through the bye week as the only kicker on the roster, I would be absolutely shocked. I mean, I think you're probably being the nicest one out of a lot of people saying you're not cutting him. But for whatever reason, he can't figure out how to put him through the uprights right now, and the staff doesn't trust him. So you got to have another kicker out there, or you got to figure it out and have Cam earn your trust back.
All right, you and I have just spent about 13 minutes killing him. And at the end of the day, you take a deep breath. They're 4-3. Right? I know when you and I were in 100-degree weather at training camp back in August, if you would have told me they'll be 4-3 at the bye, Jamal, I probably would have taken that. Now, to your point earlier, there's really positive 4-3, and there's, oh my gosh, doom and gloom 4-3, and the Jaguars are probably the latter. But they would be in the playoffs. If it started today, they can turn this around. That's true. But again, if they don't start playing any better than they did Sunday, they won't win another game this year. So I just think when you take a big picture look at everything, you need to process 7 games and not just Wembley Stadium. They are 4-3, but certainly there is a lot of questions.
Look, I'm with you, Hacker. I did not expect them to be 4-3 going into the break. I think 4-3 is a very respectable record, and I think it sets them up to have a strong finish to the season. But I do think they're at a crossroads. I think this is not a strong 4-3 because you've lost your past 2 games, and you haven't lost them in strong fashion, right? It'd be different if these were like Cincinnati losses. These weren't Cincinnati losses. These were losses where the other team largely took you out of the football game. So there are questions, and so I think this is a weaker 4-3 than maybe the record would say. And I think it puts you at a point where coming out of the bye week against the Raiders, a loss there and the train comes off the tracks because the Raiders have been struggling. So if you don't go out there with a bye week to prepare and take care of business in a strong way, I think, this noise just continues to get louder, and at some point it'll become deafening. So I think that you're at a crossroads, and this Raiders game becomes almost a must win because if you drop to 4-4 and drop 3 straight and you lose to a struggling Raiders team, is there a comeback from that?
It's a good point, and it's something we're going to be talking about for the next week and a half plus. I agree. Las Vegas might be the worst team in football right now. You do look at their schedule. You got the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Jets, 2 games against the Titans. I mean, you would think getting to 9 would not be that difficult, but again, if they play like they did in Wembley, they won't beat any of those teams. So I agree with you. They are at a crossroads, and they got a bye week to try to figure it out. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. Jamal, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, as always, and we'll talk soon, man.
All right, for sure, Hack. Appreciate you, man.
Get hit by the man in the back, Tommy Mack.
I'm bringing you straight to the gridiron to show you what it's like to put on the Jags helmet and pads.
Fridays on Jaguars Today. Unlocked by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Frank Frangie for Lee & Kate's Glass, still family-owned and in business for 100 years. When they say you're going to see a big difference, that's for everything. Custom showers and spas, tabletops, mirrors, even replacing foggy windows, all at a more affordable price. And with your satisfaction absolutely guaranteed, Lee & Kate's Glass is your best choice. Visit leeandkatesglass.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
You've got a circle of friends, right? Well, how about a circle of beer? All your favorites like Bud Light, Bud Heavy, Mick Ultra, or Natty Light. It's all there in the cold case at Circle K. Probably one right around the corner right now calling your name. Slide on in to a Circle K.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 21st, 1976, the New York Knicks retired Willis Reed's number 19 jersey, which was the first in Knicks history.
Congrats to former Florida Special Teams ace Brandon James and safety Todd Johnson's induction into the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame. Friday, October 31st, presented by Miller Electric. To attend, go to flgajax.com/Hall of Fame.
Find the middle of the fairway with your drives. Get the golf tips and talk to keep you straight.
That's a great tee shot.
On the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL. Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, you look troubled. Is something bugging you?
This friendship isn't all upside for me, Jason. People keep asking me stuff about you.
They ask you about me?
Is it really cooler with Bueller, they ask. So I say, totally. And they say, how do you mean that? And I say, he fixes air conditioners, which literally makes somebody cool. But he also has cool sunglasses and cool people and a cool family.
And I try to make working at Bueller Air and Plumbing a really cool experience for our technicians and plumbers. We treat our people like gold, and they treat our homeowners the exact same way.
Great. Well, now there's another cool thing I've got to remember. This is a lot of responsibility, Jason.
Life can get hectic sometimes. If you don't take a moment to slow down and appreciate all the cool parts, you could miss it.
Do people ask you about me at all?
Weirdly, they do.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Introducing the Jag Stack at Firehouse Subs. So bold, it's named after the home team. Stacked with honey ham, smoked turkey, roast beef, provolone, fresh veggies, and the new Duval drizzle sauce. For a limited time at your local Firehouse Subs, there's only one hottest sub in Duval.
Hi, I'm Maria, salon owner. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic, made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Celebrating 30 years in Jax Beach. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn is your go-to for cash on the spot. They buy gold. Huge sale on firearms all month. Save during Florida's Second Amendment sales tax holiday with no sales tax on firearms. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Guys, don't suffer through this season with prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations with advanced urological care to improve your health and vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Make Honda of the Avenues your first stop for award-winning customer service and world-class Honda vehicles. Our inventory is larger than ever, which means we have the perfect Honda waiting for you. Plus, at Honda of the Avenues, we always put our customers first, making the car buying experience fun, fast, and easy. You'll always find great deals on our huge selection of new and certified pre-owned Hondas, all prepped and ready for a test drive. Come see just how different car buying can be at Honda of the Avenues today. Stop by or shop from home at HondaoftheAvenues.com. Proud sponsor of Sporting Jags.
Hey, Hicken here. Cooler weather right around the corner, but you can extend your swim season with Surfside Pools. This month, Surfside Pools offering 10% off new pool heaters or heater replacements and installation. Keep the good times rolling. No matter the season, upgrade your pool heating system now for months of extra enjoyment. Only from Surfside Pools, the trusted name for expert pool service. Family owned and operated. Call 246-2666 or visit surfsidepools.net.
License number CPC 044080.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night. 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Opening night in the association. NBA opening night. Houston, Oklahoma City, they raised a banner in OKC tonight. Right now, Houston, a 57-51 lead at halftime. Kevin Durant making his Rockets debut, 14 points in the first half. Later on tonight, Golden State and the LA Lakers. No LeBron for the Lakers. It is the 17th season now for Steph Curry. How about that? Year 17 for the best three-point shooter the NBA has ever seen. Golden State and the Lakers at 10 o'clock. Then basically every team gets underway tomorrow night, including the battle of the state of Florida, the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. We will have David Steele, the television voice of the Orlando Magic. He's been doing it over 3.5 decades. FanDuel Sports Network is where you find his work alongside Jeff Turner and Dante Marcatelli. Of course, we air a lot of Magic games on the radio side of things here in Jacksonville. We'll have David Steele previewing the Orlando Magic coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Also, Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com, one of their main college football guys. Ryan's been one of my NFL draft and college football guys for years. We'll talk about the firing of Billy Napier in Gainesville, potentially the interest from Lane Kiffin. If not Lane Kiffin, who else could it be? And what does the future hold for Mike Norvell, who got the vote of confidence by athletic director Michael Alford over there in Tallahassee. Denmark, I don't know about you. I mean, I know you know a lot of Florida State people. I do as well. And talking to some of my Seminole brethren after that announcement yesterday, it's not even a mixed bag, man. People are upset. They're fuming. They think Mike Norvell should be gone. Again, coming up with $55+ million of a buyout, plus buying out all his coaching staff, and then paying the new staff to come in is easier said than done. But when you get a vote of confidence like that from the AD, do coaches ever seemingly recover from that? Very few and far between. It appears Norvell will be following in Napier's shoes, I would imagine, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's got to be. He's not the guy. I mean, you lose to Stanford, and Stanford had multiple players go out, including their quarterback, and you still lost, and I don't even think you ever led in that game.
And they've lost 11 out of their last 12 ACC games.
And I don't care that, the game kicked off at 10:30 on the East Coast. I mean, you think of – I know Florida State's not a good team, but think of any good team. If you have to go play against one of the worst teams in any Power Four, conference, you should beat them. And they, weren't even close, and – he's just not the guy, and the defense isn't playing well, and it's amazing to look back and they out-physicaled Alabama, and they had 250 yards rushing, and then since then they haven't been the same.
If you're Lane Kiffin, would you consider Florida State over Florida?
No.
I wouldn't either, but I think Florida State would call, right? They got to call Lane Kiffin.
100%. You have to.
And look, Florida State's going to be linked to a lot of the same people that Florida's linked to. The one thing that Florida State, though, has is the tie with Kenny Dillingham of Arizona State. To me, that would make a lot of sense if you go to get Dillingham. Now, Dillingham's at his alma mater, right, in Tempe. He obviously did some work for FSU. Florida State, to me, like we talked about, it's probably a better job than Arizona State. But in the world we live in NIL, I think it's much more relative. The gap has narrowed significantly when talking about jobs like that. But you would think Kenny Dillingham would be at the top of the Seminole list when/if they ultimately do cut ties with Mike Norvell. So again, Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com, their main college football guy. He joins me coming up here in less than 10 minutes. News around the National Football League today. Last night, Detroit making a statement. Really nice win over Tampa. Mike Evans going to be out at least 2 months with an injured collarbone. The thought is last night it might be season ending. Now maybe not, maybe more the 6 to 8 week variety. Regardless, if we see Mike Evans again in Tampa, it'll be towards the end of the regular season at the absolute earliest. But Detroit, again, making another statement. And when you look at the NFC, the statement Seattle made last night as well in just beating up the Houston Texans. Houston falls to 2-4. Think about this. The Indianapolis Colts have already won 6 games. The Texans have won 2 games. The Colts are 4 wins clear of the Texans in the AFC South, and we haven't even reached Halloween yet. Now, the Texans will play the Colts twice. Obviously, the Colts still have to play the Jaguars twice. Jacksonville at least lurking at 4-3, whereas Houston is 2-4. In Denmark, the 2 teams Houston beat are awful. They beat Tennessee, and they beat a terrible Baltimore team, the worst Baltimore team we've seen in a long, long time. I'm at the point 6 weeks in, I just don't think Houston's very good this year.
No, and they show you, week in and week out, they're the same team that can't get anything going on offense. They have a terrible O-line. They can't protect Stroud. They can't run the football, and they have to rely on a defensive score like they did last night. If it's not for that defensive score, that scoop and score in the end zone, that game is a snooze fest, and it's not even close in the second half.
Did you see the shot across the bow that Russell Wilson took at Sean Payton this afternoon?
No, I did not.
So Sean Payton, talking about the game Sunday, Denver won a great game over the Giants. Great game. 33-32. Sean Payton goes into his post-game press conference and basically says, I'm paraphrasing here, yeah, I really wish the Giants would have gone to Jackson Dart after they played us because we knew how good they were going to be with Jackson Dart. A direct shot at Russell Wilson, right? We wish they would have gone to Jackson Dart after they played us. And, of course, Russell Wilson was in Denver. So Russell Wilson, a couple hours ago, goes on Twitter to respond to this. He says, classless but not surprised. Didn't realize you're still bounty hunting 15 years later through the media. Hashtag let's ride. He brought up Bountygate. Remember, Peyton got a year suspension in New Orleans for that whole Bountygate thing. Remember with defensive coordinator Greg Williams, and if you kill the head, the body dies, and all that stuff that was on video or a recording. I haven't heard a peep about Bountygate in a while. It's like the NFL tried to put that under the radar. And Russ saying, you're going to talk to me, you're going to talk about me in the media like that? Well, I'm going to bring up Bountygate 15 years after the fact. Good for Russell Wilson. If Sean Payton wants to take a jab like that at you, you fire right back. No issues with that whatsoever. Also, speaking about quarterbacks in New York, it appears the days are numbered for Justin Fields as the starting quarterback. The Jets are the only winless team in football. They're 0-7. They are awful. Remember, Jacksonville plays them still this year. And it looks like they're going to turn to Tyrod Taylor. And when the owner, Woody Johnson, defends Aaron Glenn today, but in the same token kind of blasts Justin Fields, when the owner says things like, well, you look at his quarterback rating, it's not really working. Yikes. So it looks like the first benching or significant benching will happen with Justin Fields being sent to the Pine, and Tyrod Taylor looks like he's going to be the new man, at least for the time being, with the New York Jets. Again, more on the Jaguars, more on the Orlando Magic and the NBA debut. David Steele, as the season tips off, joins us at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next, back into the Florida Gators, the firing of Billy Napier, what that means for Florida moving forward. What about Mike Norvell's status in Tallahassee? Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. I've had Ryan on for years, and he joins me next on a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
A great drive takes more than a set of wheels.
Fully loaded, I think is the term.
Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville brings you the drive of the game.
Just one thing. Yeah. Don't push any of the buttons on that car.
On 1010XL.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminex. When mice and rats show up in your home or business, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast, before they have time to multiply. Terminex knows how to shut down rodents and will keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so does Terminex. Don't live with a rodent problem, Terminex it. Visit Terminex.com today to schedule a free inspection online just like I did. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com.
Jacksonville, hunting season is here, and nobody gears you up like Green Acres Sporting Goods, home of the largest archery pro shop in Northeast Florida. They've got everything for all seasons: archery, black powder, and general gun season. Green Acres is a fully stocked Browning dealer with ammo, accessories, and safes. Don't miss out on Florida's Second Amendment sales tax holiday, happening now through the end of the year. Gear up today at greenacresporting.com.
It's the fall savings event going on now at Renewal by Anderson. Upgrading your home has never been easier. Get 20% off replacement windows and patio doors. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires October 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
If you have cane fever, you'll get your weekly dose of Miami football on the Hurricane Report.
I'm JJ LaSelva. This season, I'll keep you close to Coral Gables with the Hurricane Report on 1010XL.
Proudly protected by Performance Painting.
When you need plumbing, septic, or air conditioning service, trust matters. That's why more homeowners in Jacksonville choose Duck Duck Rooter, the area's most trusted service company. We're licensed, insured, and the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida. From small plumbing repairs to major renovations, septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, and full air conditioning service, we do it all. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter. When you're stuck, call the duck.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 6th.
Hey Jacksonville, it's Dr. Kevin Kaplan, team physician for the Jaguars and proud member of Jacksonville's newest orthopedic dream team. At Orthopedic Specialists of Jacksonville, we brought together 10 board-certified fellowship-trained surgeons, each one a specialist in their field, all working together to deliver smarter, faster care with better results. From sports injuries to joint replacements, we've got the right player for every position. Visit osjax.com and meet your team. That's osjax.com.
Jax is more than a city, beaches, suburbs, or a destination. We're a community that takes care of each other. I'm former Jaguar Tom McManus. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling is dedicated to serving you with respect and integrity. From estate cleanouts to furniture and appliance removal, we handle it all. Call 506-1256 for your free estimate today. We're here for you. We're veteran-owned and operated. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling.
Jacksonville is my hometown, and nobody knows roofing like me. I'm Ronnie, the owner of Brandon Roofing.
We handle everything from repairs to full roof replacements, start to finish. We give honest quotes, use quality materials, and clean up like we were never there. We all look at Google reviews, so go ahead and check out ours. We're proud of all our 5-star ratings. I would say we treat you like family, but some people don't like theirs. Go to brandonroofing.com today to schedule your free roof quote.
License number CCC 1328006.
Jacksonville Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coatings, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Grab your cowboy hat for the Beach Barbecue Bash, presented by Sunshine State Plumbing and Reliable Ducks. Thursday, October 30th. Live music, sizzling barbecue, and Southern Charm, supporting Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. Get tickets at bgcnf.org.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Billy Napier out as head coach of the University of Florida. What does it mean moving forward? Who potentially could the Gators target? And why are there so many coaching openings already in the world of college football? Let's talk about all of it with Ryan Roberts. A to Z Sports.com is where you find his work, and Ryan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how we doing, man?
Doing solid, man. Doing solid. We're getting to the point of the college football season where we actually start to understand some things. You know, like the early portion of the season, I think is kind of a little bit of a guessing game. And I mean, there was only a few weeks ago that we thought Florida State was a really good football team, and now they appear to not be a great football team. So happy to just gain some clarity this time of year because, you know, early season guessing isn't always the most fun exercise of all time.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting year here in Northeast Florida with Florida State and their issues. I mean, they've lost 11 out of 12 ACC games. And then obviously Florida with the firing of Billy Napier this past weekend. Ryan, you and I had talked about this for a while. It felt inevitable, and it finally happened on Sunday afternoon. Your immediate reaction to the news that Florida had fired Billy Napier?
I mean, we talked about it last year, right? I mean, early in the season in 2024, it felt like a matter of when, not if, that it was going to happen. And then obviously he has the nice run down the stretch of the season. It's able to preserve his job. But then at the beginning of the year, you still feel unsettled about it even before playing the first game because it's still an offseason conversation of like, hey, like you got the 8 wins, you had a nice run at the end, but is this still good enough for the Florida Gators standard? And then obviously with the rough start they were on, then they win a game. And it's just been one of those situations where you knew it was going to happen, but Coach Napier just kept winning a game or two here and there that kind of kept just having a slower process of getting fired. But I really dislike this whole process, especially this past week, because, you know, before the game, there's obviously some reports getting out there that like, this is going to be the week and we'll see what happens and all these types of things. And then you go and although, you know, Mississippi State, I think was a little bit overhyped to begin the year for the start they had, you still beat them, right? You got to win. And then you still fire the coach. Like, I think the optics are just really poor on this from all sides because I think from most fans' perspective, not even analysts' perspective, you knew this was going to happen, but the timing just felt really off. Like, this felt like a decision that should have happened a couple of weeks ago, maybe after a loss, like because you knew. I think that they knew that this was going to happen. I just think that the leadership needed to determine when was the best time to do it. And for whatever reason, the sand ran out of the hourglass and they decided to do it now. But I think doing it after a victory and with how it was kind of covered up into the facts, I think the optics were really bad. I think he deserved to be fired, but I just really think that this was a bad reflection on the University of Florida, just in general, of the football program. And just this whole process just really stunk to me, to be honest.
Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports.com. I don't disagree with you. And I think part of it, and I don't know this, but my thought is, I mean, there were really, really loud fire Billy chants Saturday night. I mean, he got booed off the field even after a win. And I almost think you knew you were going to do it after the next loss. Billy's a good guy. I've said repeatedly, man, if I want to have a cold beer and a hamburger and just talk about sports and football and life with somebody, Billy Napier would be pretty high on that list because I just like the guy. I just don't think he needed to be the head coach at Florida anymore. You almost did him a favor because getting booed off the field and the fire Billy chants, that was no good for anybody. And I think even despite the win, I think Scott Strickland almost did him a favor.
Yeah, it's just, I think he did him a favor for sure because, I mean, we always kind of lose the reality of that people are involved in these conversations, right? And from the outside perspective, from the public, the media perspective, I do think we kind of lose sight on this. And I've also heard, and I've never been able to meet Coach Napier personally, but I've heard from people that have been around his organization or been in his organization, whether that is now or previously at Louisiana, that he is a quality person. So I kind of echo with some of the same sentiments. It's unfortunate that it had to happen, but I do think that at least now you have some clarity in your mind. Someone I think put out as fast, now that, Billy can finally rest, right? You gotta kind of just take a step back and just kind of understand what the next steps are and all that type of stuff, and maybe be around the family a little bit more on the short term. So I think everyone just kind of gets a mental reset. Obviously, the next question now is where does Florida go from here? Because Florida is in a little bit of a messy situation because I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of transfer portal entries. I'm sure we're going to see some decommitments on the recruiting side in the 2026 and even 2027 class. It's going to be very interesting to see how Florida kind of picks things up right now.
Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports.com. Let's talk about what's next. And obviously an overwhelming majority of the Gator fan base, Ryan, is all in on Lane Kiffin. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Now, there's been talk about Lane Kiffin to Florida in the past, but I can tell you it's never been this prevalent. That is who the majority of Gator fans want. I can tell you I believe that's who most of the boosters want. We'll see about the Board of Trustees and obviously AD Scott Strickland, who will make the ultimate decision. But if they're listening to their constituents, Lane Kiffin is the guy here. What's your thought on the whole situation with Kiffin in Florida?
I think Kiffin's a really interesting candidate because I think most people would agree that he's a good coach. I think that the one thing at Ole Miss right now is there is a conversation over, is this kind of a maxed out situation? Like, they're a good team, obviously. Do they have the infrastructure overall to be a great team, to be an elite team? And the NIL aspect of it is in a good place. Ole Miss spends money. They have money to spend. But they're just not a historically great football program, and they never have been, right? So you are kind of fighting, and I think people sometimes lose sight of that a little bit because they always just think it's just about money. Well, prestige matters, history matters, legacy matters. Like, all these things do matter in the conversation. So it's not all just a money thing. And I do think that there's a question of, is this the best that Ole Miss is ever going to be under Lane Kiffin? And that's a 10-win football team that could be really a little bit of a headache, but maybe are never going to be SEC champs and are maybe never going to be true playoff contenders. Like, they're just a good team, but they're not a great team. So I do think that for Kiffin, for Lane, I think that it is an interesting conversation of, hey, you bet on yourself at Ole Miss. You did a good job by all accounts. You've recruited pretty well. You've hit the portal well. You're a great offensive mind, obviously. Can you take that next step at Florida? And in a vacuum, you probably say, yeah, very possible, right? Like, Florida has that infrastructure. They have a proud program. They have a proud tradition. They have a proud fan base. They have those things plus NIL money to spend as well. So I do think that it's a high upside position. Now, the one thing, if you're Lane, though, on Lane's particular side is Florida hasn't always been the most supportive to coaches that have some struggles along the way. So this roster is going to have to be overhauled this offseason, more than likely, with some of you're probably going to have some defections. Are they patient enough to understand, hey, this needs to be a little bit of a long-term play? And I'm not saying like 7 years from now, but like this might be a year 3 boom for Lane Kiffin. This might be a year 4 boom for Lane Kiffin. Are they patient enough to see that through? And is Lane going to be comfortable enough to going down to Gainesville with some unrest and some turnover? Like, all those things are very interesting, but that's kind of the long story to me saying, I think Lane would be a really good hire. And I think that he would do a really good job in Florida because I think that you need a coach that has a resume in this hiring. You went the small school route. Billy Napier was a very respected coach on a G5 level. You tried to see if he can make that jump. I do think that you need to go with a coach with a little bit more experience, especially on the Power 4 level. And I think that Lane would be a very interesting hire if that was, in fact, who ends up getting the job at the end.
Final moments, Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. Ryan, if it's not Lane Kiffin, the other names that you hear, Eli Drinkowitz, Missouri, you hear Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I don't know how realistic that one is. You heard Cignetti at Indiana before he got paid by the Hoosiers. Maybe Kenny Dillingham. I would personally love Brent Key, but I don't expect that to happen for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm not sure if Key wants to leave his alma mater, and I don't know how interested Florida would be anyway, although I think that would be a mistake. I really like Brent Key. If it's not Lane Kiffin, Ryan, who should Florida target?
I think another name that's going to be thrown out there a bunch is Jed Fish, obviously, and I know that his contract maybe makes things a little bit difficult just with signing with Washington last year and having kind of the long-term outlook, buyout, all that type of stuff. But obviously he is a Florida guy, so I think there's going to be some intrigue there. I know they would never do this, Ryan. Like, I know they wouldn't because like I said, you just went the G5 route with Coach Napier, so they're not going to go the G5 route again. But I am so fascinated with Alex Golesh over at South Florida. Like, I am really, really fascinated with that guy because he has slowly built that South Florida program. I think he has a really good eye for evaluation. I think he's a really smart offensive guy, obviously, with his background with Coach Heupel. I really like him a lot. I think that he also knows the state of Florida, obviously, right? And now he can attract some of the bigger fish instead of trying to find those underrated guys that are going to come be a part of the South Florida program comparative to a Florida Gator program. So I would have a lot of interest in him, but I ultimately don't think that's where Florida goes just because of the optics of it, and I think they're going to steer away from that. So outside of Lane, I think that you mentioned it, like Drinkwitz, I think would be an interesting candidate. I think Jed Fish, if you can make the money work, will be an interesting candidate. But, man, I really like the thought of Alex Golesh. I just don't think that they can go there, obviously, with the situation they're in right now.
Ryan, as we wrap up, we got 60 seconds. There's 11 job openings already in college football, and there's certainly more to come. Why are there so many openings so early? I mean, we're in the middle portion of October still.
I think it was just kind of the tracks of a few different guys in terms of it kind of colliding together. I mean, we were talking about this last year when we kind of knew that Billy Napier wasn't going to be fired, and you knew a couple of these guys kind of were going to get another chance. This is just a little bit of a circumstance of different situations kind of ending on the same kind of pathway in terms of when the hot seat was fully there. So I think that most people predicted this. Like last offseason, it wasn't a hot coaching hiring cycle. This year was kind of projected to be more of that because I just think that, we're entering year 3s, year 4s of guys that kind of were in a prove-it type of situation. And obviously in the James Franklin situation, after 12 years in Happy Valley, he is kind of an unexpected guy to join the list. But I really do think that it was just kind of a prove-it year for a lot of guys. And it's just by circumstance that it's kind of all happening at one time.
Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. Ryan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about A2Z Sports and the coverage you guys have.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it. For college football, obviously Florida, more specifically, is one of the schools that we cover, Florida State. We've expanded slowly into the NFL draft, NFL market over the last few years, but then college has been kind of the really big vantage point as far as like improving the coverage. So A2Z Sports, if you want to go over there, cover all your favorites, blue bloods of college football that you kind of want to enjoy. If you're NFL draft fans, we got you covered over there. If you're NFL fans, everything kind of under one umbrella at A2Z Sports.
Ryan, 30 seconds. You're a Notre Dame guy. Would Marcus Freeman wouldn't leave, right, to come to Florida? Because that's a name down here as well.
You can never say zero, but I think it's about as close to a 0% chance as you could possibly have. Because just as brief as I can, Marcus Freeman is a Midwest guy. He always has been. He's an Ohio guy that went to Ohio State, that coached at Purdue, that coached at Cincinnati, that coached at Notre Dame. It's not that I don't think he would be really good at Florida. I think he would recruit the state of Florida at a tremendous rate. But I also I just don't think that he's going to uproot to go to an environment that he's never been in, right? And I think he's very comfortable at Notre Dame where he is right now. So I just don't think that it would be I don't think it's a move that he's going to make. Would he be a really good hiring by Florida? I think so, but I just don't think that it makes a lot of sense for his current reality.
Ryan, I know how busy you are this time of year. Certainly appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your time.
The experts at AMCO have been fixing cars for almost 60 years. Over that time, they've gotten more complex than ever. That's why our techs undergo rigorous training and certifications, so they can fix anything, including the most complicated repairs that come with some of the latest technologies. After 60 years, there's nothing we haven't seen or fixed. It's how we know cars inside and out.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia.
This is Jaguar Hall of Famer Tony Baselli telling you about Heritage of North Florida, Jacksonville's premier roofing and home remodeling company. With over 25 years of trusted experience, Heritage of North Florida has built a reputation for quality, reliability, and craftsmanship. Whether you need a new roof or updating your kitchen or bathroom, trust the pros at Heritage of North Florida to create the perfect place to call home. Mention Jaguars to get $1,500 off your next roof or kitchen remodel when you go to heritagenfl.com. Go Jags!
Prosser here again for Chad and Sandy, the local real estate experts you can trust. You might think you have a struggle ahead, but Chad and Sandy always have a solution, and ultimately it ends in a success story. Jacksonville area homes are selling, but getting the right price requires aggressive marketing and proven systems. Hiring the experts who know how to create demand is crucial. You need Chad and Sandy Newman. Need to sell now? Chad and Sandy have instant offers, fast, easy, stress-free. But man, they deliver with the promises. The local real estate experts you can trust. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time. Oh, and the proof is out there. Tom and Nicole in Mandarin. I got a new job in Louisiana. We found a new home. Now we'd have to sell fast to avoid paying 2 mortgages. Chad and Sandy did it. Use them today. ChadandSandy.com. That's ChadandSandy.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Here's a health and wellness tip from orthopedic specialists of Jacksonville.
Here's a simple tip for shoulder health to improve your posture. Slouching can put extra stress on your shoulders, leading to pain and injury. Make sure your head is over your shoulders are relaxed and pulled back, and your spine is properly aligned. Whether you're sitting or standing, if you sit for long periods of time, make sure to get up and take breaks and work on pulling your shoulders back. Get up and get moving, Jacks. And go Jags.
Stay healthy with orthopedic specialists of Jacksonville.
I love my propane company. They always answer when I call and give me great prices and fast service. Said no one ever.
Until now. Need propane for your home or business? Seabreeze Propane is bringing the propane as North Florida's new local propane provider. Visit SeabreezeLP.com. Seabreeze Propane. We make propane cool, brother. Oh, yeah.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And boy, you look on that sports calendar, we've been so caught up in the NFL and certainly college football, but the NBA tips off this week. And, of course, that means the Orlando Magic. A lot of expectations in Central Florida for Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and the Magic in what appears to be a wide-open Eastern Conference. David Steele is the longtime television voice of the Orlando Magic. You catch him every night on the FanDuel Sports Network alongside Jeff Turner, and David's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. David, happy NBA tip-off to you, my friend.
It's here. It's hard to believe, but we're back. Starts tomorrow night, couple of big games around the NBA, and then most of the league starts on Wednesday night, and that's where the Magic and the Heat get going.
You know, it's crazy that it's gotten here so quickly, and what an offseason for Orlando, and we'll get to the superstars in a moment, but some really good acquisitions on paper, David, beginning with the Desmond Bane trade. Look, everybody wanted Orlando to go find some shooting. People wanted Orlando to make a splash, and it certainly appears they did that this offseason.
Desmond Bane, his acquisition really surprised me. I don't know how you felt about it when the news came down, but I just didn't have him on my radar as an attainable player in the offseason. And, you know, when you step back and look at it, he's the perfect fit. He's exactly what the team lacked. He gives the team exactly what they needed. He's a veteran. He's been around. This will be his 6th year in the NBA. He's 27 years old. So he brings some maturity, some experience, and then all of the skills that he has just fits perfectly with what the Orlando Magic needed.
You know, there's no doubt about that, and you add him with the core there of Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs, and you and I spoke last year before the NBA tip-off, and there was so much hope going into last season, and just injuries destroyed this Magic team. I think Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs played a combined, 5 games together of the 82. Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. So that leads me to Paolo first and foremost. He came back off the injury last year, David, and was spectacular. What's your thought on Banchero entering 2025?
He looks great. He's in great shape. He's obviously put in a lot of time in the gym. I've seen some clips, here and there all summer long of Paolo working, and he just keeps getting better. He's still very young. He's 22. I think he'll be 23 at some point during the season. So a young guy, but with some experience. 4 years. This will be year number 4 for Paolo in the NBA. So, he's got a little track record. He had a really nice postseason against Boston. He put up huge numbers against a really good defensive team, the Boston Celtics, and the Magic as a team played Boston tough in that first round series. But Paolo, he's at the tip of the spear. He's the guy, and Franz Wagner is, you mentioned him, he's not too far behind, if in some ways at all behind. He brings some things to the table that Paolo can't do as well. So they're a great 1-2 punch, and then you add in Bane, and you mentioned Jalen Suggs, who will be back, I think, early in the season, and it should be a good year if we can stay healthy. That's the big if.
David Steele, FanDuel Sports Network, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You mentioned staying healthy. I think the basketball powers that be owe Orlando some health this year based on what's happened the last couple of years. And Franz Wagner, look, what an offseason it was for him over there with Germany in the Euro Cup. He was certainly the star of that tournament.
He was. I know Dennis Schroeder had the big championship game and walked away with the MVP trophy for the tournament, but from start to finish, Franz was the guy that put that German team on his shoulders. And I don't know if you watched much, but I did watch about the last, I think when they got to the quarterfinals, I started tuning in, watching those games streaming from Europe. And Franz was just sensational. I mean, he's taken another step this year as well. And you can see that confidence that he has that is a carryover from his performance in the Eurobasket tournament. You can see it in practice. You can see it in the preseason games that he played. Our last preseason game was with New Orleans last Thursday night, Ryan, and I think probably I would take a guess 9 or 10 times he beat the Pelicans down the floor, even after a made basket, a free throw or a field goal, and got an easy layup or a dunk or a trip to the free throw line. He just looks great. I think he's going to have a huge year.
We know Franz Wagner looks healthy. We know Paolo Banchero looks healthy. I guess the third in that trio is Jalen Suggs. Now, he missed a ton of time last year. What a disappointing year it was, I'm sure, for him personally because of the injuries. We have not seen Jalen in the preseason. David, what is the thought on him as the season tips off?
Well, he has been practicing. He didn't do full contact until very, very late in the preseason. And, from everything I'm hearing, the prognosis continues to look good for him to make an appearance at some point early during the season. Not, I'm not thinking it's going to be a month, 2 months. 3 months. The Mo Wagner situation is different with the torn ACL. I wouldn't expect to see him before December, but with regard to Jalen, the fact that he's been out there and he's already started practicing, I think we'll see him pretty early in the year.
You mentioned Mo Wagner. I remember that. I believe it was December 20th that he got injured. And the reason I know that is because I was down in your way at the Magic Kingdom for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party with my 5-year-old.
Nice.
And it was nice until I got back to the hotel and saw that Mo Wagner got injured. And that was like, oh, boy. So you're thinking it's going to be probably a month or two into the year before we see Mo Wagner this season?
I do. The typical ACL recovery for in today's NBA seems to be about 12 months. So, you said December 20th. If it's earlier than that, good for him, good for the doctors and the surgeons and the rehab specialists. And if it's not, then we'll just have to be patient. But he'll be back as soon as he can. Mo, he wants to be out there, and he'll get back out there as soon as he possibly can.
A couple of more for David Steele. You'll see him all season long on the FanDuel Sports Network alongside Jeff Turner, Dante Marchitelli, and the terrific crew broadcasting Orlando Magic basketball. Quickly for the local audience here in Jacksonville, David, maybe the fact that Mo Wagner is going to be out for a little bit was maybe the reason that Colin Castleton got that last coveted roster spot for Orlando. The former Florida Gator earned that spot in the preseason, and whether it's with Orlando or with the G League team, Castleton's going to be a part of the Magic organization this year.
I love it. He's a Gator. He's Daytona Beach, Father Lopez High School. So it's a homecoming for Colin. He earned the spot, the two-way contract, which, as you know, Ryan, it's kind of a combination of the G League and an NBA contract. Pretty good money, guaranteed money. He's already proven that he can play in the NBA. I thought he did a good job with Toronto last year. He got a late call up and played a lot of basketball for the Raptors late in the season. So I think he's proven himself that he belongs in the NBA. It's just a matter now for Colin to find the right spot. And you make a good point. With Mo Wagner out, at least probably for a couple of months as the season begins, there could be some opportunity for Colin Castleton. There's another big guy that's a two-way player, Orlando Robinson. Depending upon, what Jamal Mosley needs and how he sees those two guys, I think they're both NBA players. And I think one of them is going to have an opportunity. I hope it's Colin. Robinson has also played well in the preseason, and he has some NBA experience as well. But, I heard Jamal Mosley talking about Castleton after the decision was made, and he just raved about his basketball IQ, that all the positive things that he does. He's just an NBA player. He knows how to play. He knows how to win.
David, as we begin to wrap up, I want to ask you a big picture question in a moment, but as far as the overall roster, we all know about the big three, Suggs, Banchero, Wagner. We talked about Desmond Bane. But again, the depth on this basketball team is crazy. Wendell Carter, Jonathan Isaac, Anthony Black, Tyus Jones. They draft Jace Richardson, Goga Batadze. You go on down the line. I don't know if there is a deeper team in the Eastern Conference than the Orlando Magic.
I don't think it's ever been more important to have quality depth, because we know the injuries are going to hit. They hit every team to a certain degree. Very rarely do teams skate through a full NBA season these days. It didn't used to be like this, Ryan, for whatever reasons, which we probably don't have time to get into. But in today's NBA, you can count on injuries. And so you better have players that are NBA players and can win games for you that are on the bench. And I do think Jeff Weltman and his crew have done a tremendous job putting the roster together. Like you said, just a lot of NBA and high-level NBA-type players that can come in when there's an injury or when you need this or you need that. They provide different things. And you mentioned Wendell Carter Jr. He looks like he's ready to really make a statement. He's been very good in the preseason. He looks like he's in the best shape probably in his life. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a big year too.
David, there's a real opportunity in the Eastern Conference, and I know a lot of teams are probably saying that, but Jason Tatum in Boston, he's probably not going this year. We know Halliburton will not play for Indiana. Whether, you're Orlando, I think Atlanta's probably in that mix, Detroit. some of these up-and-coming teams, real opportunity to do something in the East this year.
It is, and that's one of the reasons I'm sure that Jeff Weltman and his crew went out and made that huge blockbuster deal for Desmond Bain, because there is an opportunity. The window is open, and the Magic just happened to be in the right place at the right time with an improving Paolo Banchero, a young, improving Franz Wagner, and to go out and get Bain. I think that was a clear indication, and what they had to give up to get him was significant. I think it was a clear indication that the Magic feel like this year could be just a golden opportunity to at least get into the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals.
David, the broadcasts start Wednesday night with the opener between Orlando and Miami. Of course, you and Jeff Turner, Dante Marchitelli, the entire crew over there at FanDuel Sports Network. I'm a big fan. You know that, as we've had our conversations over the years. What can people here in Jacksonville look forward to with these Magic television broadcasts?
Well, it's going to be just a bunch of people who love what they do, who love broadcasting NBA basketball, and we try to keep it entertaining and also accurate reporting, and not get too carried away with the homerism that is easy, because we're all pulling for the Magic and want the team to do well. But I think Jeff especially does a great job of analyzing what's happening and being honest about why things work, why things don't work. I think he's the best in the NBA. I watch all the other league pass teams. I think JT is really outstanding. He just keeps getting better and better. If there's a better host, pregame, halftime, postgame, if there's a better host than Dante Marchitelli, you'd have a hard time convincing me of that in the NBA. So I think we got a strong crew. Kendra Douglas she's a budding young star as a sideline reporter. She's doing some college football. I don't know if you've seen Kendra. She's on the ACC network doing college games every Saturday. So hopefully we can hang on to Kendra for as long as possible, because I think she's in for a bright future. But I think we got a really strong crew, and I think it's enjoyable to watch. The team's going to be really good. So tune in Wednesday night, FanDuel Sports Network, Magic and the Heat start the season.
The 82-game marathon NBA season for the Orlando Magic tips off Wednesday night. And again, you'll be able to hear David Steele on the play-by-play all season long on FanDuel Sports Network. David, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. It's always my pleasure.
And thank you to David Steele, the longtime television voice of the Orlando Magic. FanDuel Sports Network is where you will see David all season long alongside Jeff Turner and Dante Marchitelli as the Orlando Magic kick off their season tomorrow night against the Miami Heat. The NBA season actually has kicked off already this evening with a couple of games. It got here quick, and look, there's a lot of uncertainty in the Eastern Conference this year with Jason Tatum being out for the Celtics with that injury from last year. Same thing with Tyrese Halliburton from Indiana. So a team like Orlando, look, right in the mix, right? They think their window is open. That's why they went out and got Desmond Bain. You got a healthy Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Suggs will be back soon. So certainly some good things potentially in Central Florida. Certainly thank David Steele for taking time out for us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. So we certainly spent some time on that. As you can imagine, a lot more time, obviously, on the Billy Napier fallout from his firing in Gainesville. Mike Norvell apparently going to be retained at least for the remainder of this season, and then we'll see what Florida State decides to do after the year. And the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into their bye week at 4-3, coming off just the beating that the LA Rams gave them on Sunday. So we certainly spent some time on all of those topics tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very busy Tuesday evening. Certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We got a ton of people to thank. Again, David Steele, the television voice of the Orlando Magic on the FanDuel Sports Network. Thank you to Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com, talking a little college ball with us tonight for the Billy Napier fallout, as well as the issues at Florida State. Also, Jamal St. Cyr, my buddy from Channel 4, looking back on the Jaguars' loss to the Rams and a big picture look at 4-3 for the Jaguars heading in to their Week 8 bye week. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM.